Welcome back. We take kindly to your kind around her, and we are starting off with Quid Promo. Shout outs to the ever delectable Seth, Jamal, and Stoney of the Thanks for Coming podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. You will see an episode with yours truly talking all things Drag Race Down Under.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, Aussie OT is out on the prowl. Just for you guys. Take the promo away.
Well, hello, America, and thanks for coming. My name's Seth. What's yours?
Hey, it's Jamal.
And Stoney.
Have you ever had Drag Race withdrawal? You know the symptoms. Not enough glitter, eyelashes not staying glued down, and that red itchy rash that just won't go away.
You should see a doctor for that.
And the only prescription for your blues is more Thanks for Coming, the most magically gay podcast.
With at least 150 podcasts, 7 seasons of Drag Race coverage under our belt, and topical queer discussions, there's a little bit for everyone here.
That's right. We're even featured on Cosmopolitan's list of top 7 RuPaul's Drag Race podcasts that spill the hottest tea. Join us every week as we bring you a fun recap of the latest episode of whatever season we're covering.
It'll make you feel like you're back on the couch discussing the latest episode of Drag Race with all your friends. Stop by thanksforcomingpodcast.com for links to listen on your platform of choice, links to all of our social media and recent happenings.
Oh, what are you waiting for? Go check us out, Hanny. Thanks for coming, a RuPaul's Drag Race podcast.
Are you discreet? Massage that sploosh-related neck injury and pack light with adulterous baggage this week with the 1987 film Fatal Attraction.
Ooh.
Woo-hoo-hoo. What a whole adventure, OT.
It really was, wasn't it?
Yeah, before we get completely entangled and swept away, let's get into the general stats and information in regards to this film, released in 1987, director Adrian Lyne, writers James Dearden, as well as a whole cast of stars, Michael Douglas, Glenn Close, Ann Archer, and super amazing splooshy shout out to Jane Krakowski, even though I'm sure this shout out is longer than her appearance in the film. In regards to the budget, lovely and satiating, we have $14 million and a worldwide gross of $320 million.
Oh.
That's a lot to betray your spouse and all of your friends and lovers, OT.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure on the intro I said, kiss, kiss, and I think that kind of cancels itself out, doesn't it?
It does.
I think it's only foreboding that I cancel myself, OT. Preemptively. If this is the first time you have perused the For Your Reference podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. We do love to tantalize on who will be the next friend and lover of the For Your Reference podcast, so welcome. But if this is your first time, we always delve in the land of spoilers. So spoiler, 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 or in most third acts, ouchie, ouchie, ouchie.
Oh.
Let's get into first impressions, OT. How did you feel watching this film? I believe you've watched this before, and we've watched so many iterations of this formula up until our recent watch. So how did you feel generally?
I enjoyed it. I think a lot of the times when I go back to things that I thought I liked before growing up, a lot of the time I've been disappointed, but this held true to its form. I was intrigued. A lot of the suspense wasn't there because all the big moments are out there. They're part of pop culture. And going back, I'm sort of surprised because I watched this quite young and there was a lot of titties. And I'm like, that's one aspect of the movie I didn't remember.
It was more nips and tips.
Yeah.
There's some more merch, OT. Get onto it.
But true to the form, like Glenn Close just gives an exceptional performance in this. I think her character as Alex just shows all the psyche. Like you can buy into her weirdness and her psyche quite easily.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to talk about, and with most insular sort of stories, it really does just center on Alex and Dan. So we can definitely go into more detail. How do you feel watching films of this genre? Because this is probably one of the OGs. How do you feel it stacks up?
I think it stays true to form. Like I mentioned, I've gone back and watched a lot of the stuff that I watched back in the day, and a lot of the time I end up being disappointed.
That's a long way to say The Departed, my love.
Granted, the things that in the movie I thought, didn't really care for quite much. We'll get to it later, of course. But overall, I sat there thinking at the end of it, I was entertained.
Is that a Gladiator reference?
It is.
We'll get round to it with Russell Crowe and Tugger all around the world. Me. Well, I would like to say thank you and shout out to all of our delectable, sploosh-worthy patrons, because if you've been following us in the linear timeline, we've been covering films that maybe not everyone has seen, and we wanted to cover something popular. So shout out to our patrons for voting on this poll. There were some contenders that didn't get voted on, so we might consider it in the future, but absolutely interactive in every way, this film. Shout outs to Michael Ealy, because he dabbled himself in The Intruder with Megan Good and Daddy Quaid, as well as Fatale with Hilary Swank. With her money in the swanks.
Oh, we just gotta ignore Omar Epps.
I think Omar Epps' Eyes is his own genre, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. I don't think I would succinctly say that I gravitate to entanglement sort of genre films, but I also enjoy it as soon as I'm bought into it. In saying that, watching Fatal Attraction, I feel, was more of a template as opposed to a film, at least from my experience and my viewing experience. And what I mean by that is many moons ago, right next to our escape room episode, we did cover Office Space. And Office Space has kind of become the blueprint of situational, observational, 9-to-5 droning sort of life comedies, right? So I definitely felt a very similar sort of feeling while I was watching Fatal Attraction, being like, oh, okay, I can see the periphery and, the many sort of homages and byproducts of that. Thinking of it now, I feel like Fatale does have like an elevator scene as well. I don't know if that is referencing. I do know
it definitely
that
plays close to. Yeah.
Okay, Willy Wonka, calm down. I can't afford the sequel. But yeah, in regards to it, it was enjoyable. Like, I'm glad that I watched it. I'm glad that I've added it to my landscape of cinema viewing. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was my favorite in the genre. And I definitely want to go into the characters. But just while we're here, trigger warning in regards to self-harm and also in regards to mental illness. The reason why I want to mention it now is because it kind of will inform how this review episode is going to go. Because in regards to Alex's character, there are a lot of questionable things she does, right? But however, if she is not well, she also can't help it. So I guess from that point of view, you don't have to go into too much detail. I would just like to know, do you prescribe to the point of view that she wasn't well and she couldn't help what she was doing, albeit the fact that she definitely hurt people in her proximity shrapnel? But do you, on the other hand, kind of say this is the world and she just ran it? I guess I can also give you an OT Olive reference branch. Glenn Close, when she was researching for this role, she gave the script to 2 psychiatrists and they didn't pick up on any sort of mental illness in regards to Alex's character. I guess the cliff notes was more that her response was reasonable if the theory was that she was potentially abused as a child, maybe even by her father, but it didn't necessarily denote to her having mental illness. So I guess I just want to know briefly in a 60-minute soundbite, do you believe that Alex was unwell and she couldn't help herself, or she was just ready to burn all that shit to the ground? Angela Bassett, burn it all and walk away.
Weird to say that because I think there's an element of column A, column B stuff going on.
All right.
I think the fact that when she found out or when she realized that Dan was going to go back home and she slit her wrists, there's some elements of, mate, there's some issues with her. There's some psychological issues here at play that in as much as I don't really care for both characters, I don't think they painted a picture where at the end of it, I'm like, oh, Dan needs to get away from this, or, oh, I feel sorry for Alex, because at the end of the day, to me, they are consenting adults. Alex fully knowing that she is having an affair with a married man, because Dan talked about the wife and the kid from the get-go. He wasn't hiding anything.
Alex did acknowledge it, that he was forthright about it, but that wasn't enough for her. She wanted to be the main squeeze.
I think she just got feels. And I feel like when she realized that he's going to go back and slit her wrist, I just felt that that's where Dan should have just seen the bigger picture here. But instead, he took it as, oh, this is my moment to take care for this lady. And I felt that just played into Alex's fantasies of whatever she thought this relationship had blossomed to be.
Oh, yeah. Like, I definitely want to talk about them individually and their dynamic. But Dan definitely could have tapped out, if you pardon the pun, much earlier. Like, it got to a point where he was too far in, but there was definitely moments very early in the film where he could have tapped out without any sort of consequence, right? So before we get into the characters succinctly, I do want to bring something up because most deliciously, I like to make notes wherever I can. So I took some notes while we were watching this film, and I was calling it early. The author that was referred to in regards to having an affair with the congressman was/is Alex. And I guess this is why I don't necessarily regard this film more than I should, is because there were themes that were introduced in this that never really got explored. Storylines as opposed to themes, right? There was a lot of context because we knew we were diving into a tryst, a romp, an affair with Alex and Dan. However, there were some periphery information that we were privy to, right? And it was discussed that there was an author that was going around, rolling around and doing all the things in all the places, right? So I was like, oh, let me make a note of this and then we can pick it up later. But I don't think they really addressed that.
I think that was more setting the tone and the environment for us in terms of Alex's psyche at the very least. And then when shit does happen and they do spend a weekend together, I think that plays into the fact that maybe it's out of character for her to be that into someone that much because she plays it fast and loose with everybody else.
Yeah.
So I guess it's to some degree, for me at least, I thought it had to do a big part of who Dan was and the connection that they formed over those 2 days.
I guess so, but I guess the sort of what I like to see when I watch a film is even if the character isn't on the screen or written on the page, that the world is still going on for them. They don't just sit there and wait for the next scene to come up, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would have contextualized the world that we were in. In regards to the world that we were in, there's something else that I want to discuss in regards to the overall pacing and storyline of this film. I don't care for Dan, but we'll come to that. I don't care for Dan, but I feel like he took too long and he never really understood the gravity over what was happening in the film. Usually for me, especially when it's in regards to social class, for example. Once I am bought into the premise, I am all the way in. So whenever there's hesitancy with characters, that bothers me because there's some real dimension we can get to. However, the character is still umming and ahhing for whatever reason. And I really feel like Dan was still living in the real world while this film presented a pseudo sort of fantasy, as you collude to, Alex's fantasy, right? So I don't mean that he had to buy into her fantasy, but she was going to fuck up your life, mate. And he was just acting like it was a Tuesday afternoon.
I don't think anyone would have foreseen to the extent of where Alex went with it. And I think him understanding, we had a conversation in bed when they were talking about how they're not going to see each other because he was going to leave and he's going to go back to his wife. And she's like, tell me to fuck off then. And when he said fuck off, she just didn't take it. She didn't take it. And I think from that point, Dan really didn't see how things would unfold. And I don't blame him or the writing that he should have bought in or should have understood the gravity of the situation quicker, because not everyone would think bitch has crazy eyes and she's going to do all that.
But I'm not saying you turn into a true crime Netflix documentary and push them into the river. I'm not saying that. Like, you don't just pump and dump. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, there were many, even the point, like you mentioned, when she self-harmed herself. Surely at that point, you're like, okay, maybe not to the point of changing your name and moving towns, but he definitely needed to distance himself. And I don't think he took the situation as seriously as he should have. And I don't think he bought into the world as quickly as he should have. Case in point, he finally comes clean after all of this fucking nonsense, and he still doesn't fully own it. Because he called it a one-night stand, but it was not.
Yeah, granted, we've seen movies where, like we mentioned Fatal Affair earlier, where Omar Epps doesn't even get to bloody go the whole way with Nia Long.
But he definitely got some nice time with her.
Yeah, we could definitely say that Nia's thighs is equivalent of spending a whole day with
Me?
Michael Douglas.
Oh,
but to some extent, we've seen, like, it's not a matter of logic or where you want to apply this logic, especially when this stuff happen all the time. And for me, Alex just had her own fantasy in a world. She didn't really care for the reality she lived in. She didn't care that Dan was married. She knew all the details. She was a consenting adult into this. She played, she flirted, she actually drove this towards an affair when they were at the cafe.
Okay. Someday in the future, technology will be, astute enough to detect my eye rolling. But I just want to make it very clear that I am eye rolling so hard right now on this podcast. Oh, there's a little bit of rain. Let's go into a sexy place and drink wine together. Fuck off.
What's wrong with two adults having coffee or anything in a bar when it's raining? Nothing wrong with that. But it took a turn, and far be it from us not understanding Dan's motive to even not go with the wife and the kid to view this place that they wanted to move. From the get-go, I just assumed Dan wasn't really interested in moving to the suburbs. But it just played on too quickly for me.
And also, sir, he became the most dedicated, committed family man after he rolled into some pussy. Is that how it works?
For someone who talks about his family all the time, it's fucking weird he just cheated by the flip of a coin.
Well, yeah, but what I'm also saying is he didn't seem to give a fuck about his family. He was kind of just going through the motions, working, providing, servicing his wife, and, some cases paying attention to his kid wherever he feels like it. But once he had the affair, that's when he started to care. The more that Alex tried to, latch her hooks into him, that's when he realized he had something to lose.
Maybe so. Maybe sometimes you just have to deep out to appreciate it even more.
Friends and lovers, welcome to the last episode. I know I said entanglements, but I am not Jada Pinkett Smith. I'll tell you that much for free.
I'll welcome you to our Red Table Talk quite soon.
I'm also not lifetime Wendy Williams.
Wow.
You are Tyrese Gibson from Baby Boy, but that's a story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a type of entanglement film.
Yeah.
Because Taraji needed her way out, but she kept coming back to that good beat 'em up dick dance. I wrote, Dan will fuck you sideways till Tuesday, but he ain't a killer. Morals, bruv.
Yeah, he should have killed her when she kidnapped the kid.
Yeah. Like, what more needs to happen for you to realize in this fictitious story that you need a fucking killer?
Yeah, and that's where it's weird, because when you look at the verisimilitude that they use throughout the movie, things that made us try and believe this world. You know, we talked about how they even used the score in this. You know, very, very, very muted, where we could hear everything like it was supposed to be edge of the seat stuff.
According to my learned IMDb research, it doesn't kick in until about an hour.
Yeah, like we are fully engrossed in the conversations, and every creak, every footstep is intentionally elevated. You know, you're supposed to feel that. You're supposed to feel as if you're in that world. And then on the other hand, there are aspects where you're like, you've painted this world, but I'm not fully understanding the logic or the concepts of it.
Yeah.
Or what's the right way or the wrong way, because far be from it, Dan is fucking flawed. Same with Alex. And they don't really own whatever it is that...
They're both shitbags is the point.
Yeah.
And let's come to it. Friends and lovers, and in some cases, other lover fuckers. Unfortunately, infidelity in relationships, as we're hearing from OT, is very common. We did cover the Tiger documentary on our Patreon, if anyone's interested, but we did speak a lot about that particular topic in there. But what I'm saying about that is that's not necessarily, when you're in the fantasy of film, cheating isn't necessarily a deal breaker in regards to morals, especially if they're attractive. I don't necessarily find Michael Douglas attractive, but like Morris Chestnut in The Best Man, yes, please. Spank my ass and spank the other lady's ass all at the same time. And Taye Diggs can kiss your forehead.
Oh, mate. Taye Diggs, 90s Taye Diggs. Woo!
Did he do it for you?
Oh, man.
How about Omar Epps, 90s Omar Epps?
Oh, he was a thing as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's still in the bushes, mate. But the point is, cheating is very normal. And, you know, even in some cases where we cover like Snowfall, 4 Blocks and The Wire, you know, even the criminalization about drugs can be suspended as well when you're watching entertainment and also when you're considering class. But in any case, when you talk about cheating, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person's a bad person, right? So in regards to Dan's character, there was an opportunity for us as an audience to care about him. But even once he did it with Alex, he didn't seem to have any sort of moral inner quandary or conflict about what he just did, which I would denote to say he didn't fucking care. And it wasn't the first time, or maybe even both.
True, he carried himself as if it wasn't the first time. He assumed that, you know what? If I need to step out, doesn't really fucking matter. But I think to me, the most weird thing was sort of how the wife dealt with it. She was pissed.
Yes.
Granted, as anyone should, she was fucking pissed. Dan had already moved out. He was living somewhere else. But once every other thing happened, once Alex kidnapped the kid, came in to try and kill Beth, at the end of it, she fucking took him back. And to me, I'm like, you've introduced the fucking toxic character into our family that endangered us, endangered our kid. It does not matter that you fucking killed her to save our lives. You are the one fucking element that brought them here. And I just expected her, I anticipated her rage to stay on a bit more and not just to falter the last end when everything's tied up in a neat bow and Alex is gone.
Hi, friends and lovers. It's Katie from the For Your Reference podcast. The masculine energy, but the woman on this podcast. I just want to make it very clear that OT is criminalizing the wife.
I am not.
The female cuckold in this scenario, because you're not giving the same energy for Dan, mate.
No, I've said Dan is crap. All I'm saying is I didn't believe that she would forgive him that quickly. Especially having introduced such a toxic character into their household that endangered their family.
But why is the onus on her?
The onus is on her.
Dan should have stepped out, stayed out, paid child support, and moved on with his merry life. That's what he should have done.
True. Yeah, I agree with that. But she should have been like, mate, fuck you and piss off.
If you want to see instances of OT being progressive and of the world, listen to our Secret Society episode, because apparently we're getting the very traditional, very conventional man is man OT in this episode, friends and lovers.
Wow.
I'm just not feeling the same energy about the cheating man. That's all.
I am. I laid down.
That's the problem. Men keep laying down when they should be laying away.
Well, to be fair, he didn't lay down with Alex at the first start. They were having it on top of the sink, standing up.
Okay, all right. I've got a note for this. Thank you for prompting me, OT. I love a good sex scene like everyone else, but the thirsty water drinking feels like it was written by a sexually thirsty virgin.
Wow.
Do you know how sex works or not?
Mate, she was feeding him. She was feeding him water. She was feeding him water off her, or dripping it off her titties, mate.
That's why your WAP is important, ladies. If you've got a dry ass pussy, you're trying to give him tap water. It's not the same shit, bruv.
Wow.
If a pussy was wet enough, it wouldn't be a problem. That's all I'm saying. Put that on my fucking tombstone. Immortalize me in WAP.
I don't know how to retort to that.
I also made a note as well. Debt collectors follow you when you don't pay. Alex is a pussy collector. Pay for your services in full, Dan.
Mm-hmm. The aspects of the movie where we get to see Alex and see her unfold and unravel, the extent she goes through to keep a man, like, that's why it's so weird that any psychologist, that she actually gave the script to psychologists who said that now we don't see any sort of mental issues here.
It was a different time, I guess. We're talking about 80s, not 90s yet.
Maybe so.
We didn't have 90s Tay Diggs to save the day, mate.
Because to me, I remember the first time watching this movie, and she just appeared like, when they talk about crazy eyes and whatever, she just appeared unhinged.
She was ready to fuck shit up.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was.
Absolutely.
And
she fucked the dick up and she fucked your life up.
Yeah. And granted, you can catch feels. Like, Dan stayed with her longer than he should have. Mm-hmm. Like, usually when if you're stepping out, you do it one night stand and you're out. But this was not a fucking one night stand. This was an entire weekend.
Yeah.
This is a bloody getaway.
Because even if you're talking not per session, if you're talking per 24-hour period, it was definitely more than one day. Therefore, it was longer.
Yeah, like they did couple shit. They went to dances. They did dinners and restaurants. Yeah. Like, it wasn't just hit and run.
Yeah.
So it's very understandable that Alex would have a feeling about wanting to give it up so quickly when she probably enjoyed it so much. But
if it's a one-night stand, of course you're going to give it up quickly, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Exactly. So it's very, very believable with this. And when you said that this was sort of a tapestry for other movies to sort of draw their sorry?
Their splooshes.
Splooshes from. We've just said, like, things like Fatal Affair, Intruder, or what's the Hilary Swank one? Yeah. They were literally one-night stands. Some of them were just touching someone's thighs.
Nia Long's thighs, which counts for more than anything.
Not just anyone.
Yeah.
Nia Long. And that was enough to send people amok. For Alex to spend 2.5 days with this bloke.
So you're saying she's
entitled, bitch.
We should have like a fuck court, and you can be like Judge Oti, and you can qualify when it's justified.
Yeah, mate, like at that point, Dan should have started fucking drawing up papers for having a big love sort of relationship.
This will be enough to get another Boondock season, I think.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way. Oh man, but I do wonder, because obviously film does seep into normal life. I do wonder, when people are about to step out on their relationship, do they know at a particular moment, fuck, I'm actually going to do this, right? Because Dan's moment, you could say arguably was earlier, but the specific moment where he's like, I'm going to get up all in her pussy valley, was when they were at the bar when it was raining and they were drinking wine and they were talking all sexy. At that moment, that's where he fucked up, as the kids say. I just wonder. I do wonder when people like tumble into other genitals, do they know that it's about to happen?
Yeah, he was fully aware. He knew where this was heading. He was fully bought in. He didn't need any convincing.
Oh, Alex had him hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. When you're looking at sort of the actions Dan took, because he tried to do it quite well. Like, he went to the cops. Not every bloke would go to the cops.
Because of?
Because of what?
Toxic masculinity, you motherfucker.
Oh, wow. Not every bloke would go there. Say, hey, this girl is threatening my life, my family. Mm-hmm. Do something about it. But he did everything right afterwards. And you just wonder where this guy was before.
Well, you know that he's going to be in this after. There are 20 sequels of this same fucking story, probably.
Yeah.
I am new to Michael Douglas. Go and check out The Game. We covered it on our podcast not long ago. We also tried Basic Instinct, which is immortalized in our Patreon for many reasons. But was Michael Douglas the go-to guy for horny movies or what?
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, eh?
And it just stayed up? Just like Chris Rock in I Think I Love My Wife. Did it stay up for that long?
Yep.
It's a reference. Bingo, my love. Mm-hmm. Speaking of The Game that we covered, aside from 13 Reasons Why, when Alex gave the tape to Dan and he started playing it, it did make me believe that there is a prequel to The Game and this is all a world of fantasy.
Wow, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, because his brother seemed like a dickhead, so we're crossing Michael Douglas universes.
Oh.
I will say in regards to the film, there was a moment that I did get revved up to another octane, and it was once we saw Alex turn up at the house. Because like you were saying, Alex was really trying to nudge him, right? But then she got sick of nudging and she fucking pushed him into it. When she turned up at the house, that's where I felt like, okay, all of real life consequences and real life rules don't apply here. We are sucked into this film and it's all going to end in the third act. But there was still that resistance from Dan that was a bit annoying to me.
Yeah, it's because she brilliantly tracks them down.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's one of those things where you're like, oh, fuck. Because Dan changed his number. He changed his number and he thought he was cotton free, man. He thought that shit was done.
Yeah.
Nah, bruv. Man, imagine Fatal Attraction now with Alex having fucking the power of Google behind her.
Wow.
Jesus.
But it's like you didn't have social media. You did your shit face to face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what I wanted, that tussling. I wanted that muy caliente sort of standoff. I was loving that. That sort of building to tension, that's absolutely what I wanted. And Dan just kept shrugging me like, fuck that bitch. And it's like, nah, you need to deal with this.
Yeah, he needed to deal with her. I think to me, the point of coming clean was when she appeared at the house. And after Alex left, I would have been like, hey, Beth, you know what? I slept with this woman and she's trying to blackmail us to, do whatever.
Yeah.
And the aspects of it, like, she didn't even believe when Dan did confess and told Beth 3/4 of the truth. Alex was like, nah, you wouldn't have. You couldn't have.
Yeah.
No way.
Why would you?
My only leverage is gone? How dare you?
Well, he didn't fully disclose, but yes, the wife was aware. And actually, let's pull this up as well, because Dan had the gall to make Beth go on the phone. And it's like, you fucking ruined your own marriage. You embarrassed and humiliated your wife. And now you're making her talk to your lover?
It's the classic good wife. Or even if you're pulling examples from reality, it's the Wiener sort of date, or what was his name called? The American politician sending weird pics, nude pics to people.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, and having the wife stand there and be like, oh, I'm very faithful and I've learned from my mistakes.
She did it for a second time.
Yeah, me. Like, nah, I would be like, there's a line. I'm not talking to your fucking mistress or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
That's the mess you set up. You fucking fix it.
Yeah.
I do not care one bit.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And Dan was a fucking scumbag, man. Like, there was nothing that would have made me want to care. Like, obviously, his wife had nothing to do with it and their kid had nothing to do with it. But I don't care that you're going to lose your family, sir.
And that's what I said at the start of this. It was very hard to care about either of the characters here.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Dan and Alex are just not written to a degree of, oh, I feel for. You can understand. You can empathize to some extent. But nah, I don't care for either of them. So at the end of it, when Alex is getting drowned there, oh man, they lingered on that shit.
Okay, let's talk about that scene.
Yeah.
And I love how messy this is. This feels like an affair. It's OT and Katie, the 11-year-long affair.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get Dominic West in on it and Ruth Wilson.
Oh, wow.
In on it or in on us?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that scene. So if and I am operating on the fact that she's not well, and even though she's hurting people, she can't help it, I'm operating from that frame of reference, yeah? So when he strangles her and she drowns and she looks lifeless in that tub, I felt uncomfortable.
Oh, did you?
I felt uncomfortable as a viewer. And let me pull both of my monocles up, OT. Apparently, according to the director, he regretted that scene as well.
Oh, why did he regret it?
It was too morose.
Wow. I felt like it was more cathartic to Dan after everything
To Dan only?
Yeah. I was not
The definition of entanglement.
I was not sitting there thinking, ugh, ugh. I was not relieving myself.
Are you the Garrison of this podcast?
Yeah. I'd take that.
South Park friends and lovers.
I felt like, because this was the second time he was strangling her.
Yeah.
And the first time he stopped himself because he was like, he snapped himself back into reality. This is not who I am. I'm a bloody lawyer. I'm a dignified man. And he was like fully just, lines were crossed. She was about to kill Beth and whatever. He was protecting his family and it's understandable. So it's weird. The way it was shot, it felt more of like Dan enjoyed it a bit too much. And I was like, ugh.
Like it went beyond trying to, yeah.
It felt like Dan was moonlighting as some.
That's a callback to Netflix true crime documentaries.
But yeah, So it's not surprising to see that maybe he regretted how he shot it. The aspect of it was like, yeah, you do what you have to do to protect your family. It's understandable.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. And I'm glad that you can pick up on the themes of misogyny and hate for women that Dan has. And I'm assuming that's what you've been channeling this whole time, not necessarily your personal values.
Oh, man, I'm a podcast host, mate.
I'm pretty sure you just orgasmed like 5 minutes ago, but it's okay.
We always say don't kink shame, mate.
We don't. You want some love? Come and sit on my lap, OT.
Yep.
There's your Wire reference. I don't like the idea that there was no consequences for Dan at all in this.
Agreed. And that's why I was like, Beth, mate, this guy has put your family in the ringer. He's endangered your kid. Do something. Break up with, tell him to fucking get off.
He did get off. That was the problem.
Like
Katie Jordan Peele coming this summer. Get off.
Like the repercussions of him cheating and introducing someone and very, very fucking unstable into their house.
Yeah.
Was, hey, I killed her for you. Well, he didn't even do that.
Just buy a fucking fleshlight,
The wife
bro.
had to step up and shoot her.
Yeah.
Because apparently he can drown anyone for shit.
Let's talk about the ending. Apparently, the ending was changed. Originally, it was supposed to be Alex committing suicide, making it look like Dan killed her and he would go to jail.
Oh, that would have been way better.
But apparently, viewers didn't warm to that idea. And apparently, that ending was more true to the reference of Madame Butterfly. It followed the themes more succinctly, but they decided to pull their punch and change the ending. Because I don't like the fact that there was no consequences for Dan.
Man, what kind of target group did the viewers would they use?
Target group from the 1980s?
Fuck's sakes.
I guess so. I don't know.
Repercussions must be had.
Repercussions absolutely must be had.
Wayward dick equals to fucking some bloody effect at the end of it.
Carry on my wayward
dick. Yeah, now just picturing Sam and Dean. Wow.
Supernatural. Now that's a long erection of a show, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this film, I definitely would have felt more compelling if they did end the film that way. Because you pretty much took us there, especially with the bunny boiling of it all. Like, you took us all the way there in regards to how theatric and the stakes that was so high in the film. So why didn't we just go all the way there?
Yeah. To hear that there was this version of an ending paying close attention to how Madame Butterfly was, then I'm just shocked that it went this way. Because then, to me, looking back, Captain Hindsight, then this movie could have been elevated even further.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't need everything fucking tied in a bow at the end of it. You don't need fucking happy endings. Dan was crap throughout the whole movie. Alex was crap throughout the whole movie. Let crap people do crap things to each other.
But you laughed a little bit too hard after they fucked. They had their first fucking sessions. And Alex was like, why are you making all of these excuses? You can just say fuck off. And then what did Dan say?
Fuck off, mate.
You laughed a little bit too hard at that.
No, because I said and I couldn't even remember the first time watching it, because I said, mate, just tell her to fucking fuck off.
Yeah.
Before she even said that. Like,
yeah,
at what point are you going to string this along? You know what it was. She knew what it was going in. Whatever feels she caught doesn't bloody matter. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you're fucking married. You're a married man. You have your family. You have your kids, and she was aware of all the situations. So I didn't expect all this trying to lay her down gently, or even him having to leave a note. Yeah. You don't need to leave a note.
Yeah,
walk out. Yeah, don't even give you a real name. Oh, well, she knew from a professional setting, so that's different. But just leave. Just leave.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I was making notes throughout the film of all of the red flags, but this was a whole fucking red sea of flags. You just chose not to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess good pussy can still be dry pussy, friends and lovers.
Well, that's why they needed water.
Oh, man. Is there anything else you would like to include, my love?
They could have done a good product placement for lube there.
For 20% off, friends and lovers, email us at hello@fyrpodcast.com.
Reference lube.
Are you discreet?
Are you just slippery?
Oh, my. Slippery sploosh. That's the name of the lube.
There you go.
Don't fucking trademark that, friends and lovers. If you care for us, please don't trademark it. Is there anything else you would like to add, my love?
I think all the big moments in this movie, I was fully in on. Like, I don't feel a way that this movie degraded over time. There are issues that you can fully accept and you can fully have this critical mind of. But at the end of the day, you leave there having been fully well entertained, fully well realizing that both characters can be crap.
Yeah.
That repercussions don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And in this world, we hate rabbits.
Well, not insightful, but thank you.
You're welcome.
I will finish off with a note that I made. Was it business in the 80s if there wasn't a white guy spouting Asian philosophies?
Yeah.
It reminded me of the opening scenes in Die Hard.
They had a lot of that, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was, I don't know. We talked about not kink shaming, and I feel like that was a kink back then.
Probably.
Let's finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
I'm going to reference the one and only in Federal Affair. Well, man, Omar Epps and Nia Long. Who would have thought?
Omar thought, and he thought wrong. He thunked it wrong.
You know, don't let Omar Epps touch it. We know the powers of the tie.
This is just you trying to justify always being fixated on my ass.
Good ass. Slap ass.
Heat. Pacino. We love that.
Mm-hmm.
I will reference a very masterfully crafted and executed cautionary tale about not fucking people that you're not married to. The Housemaid.
Oh, for a second, I thought you were going to go with the Bible. And I was like, oh, mate, no, Bibles, people are cheating on the Bible left, right, and center.
If you'd like to, if you'd like to fuck us on biblical levels, on Twitter and Instagram, we're at For Your Ref Pod.
Write us an email at hello@fypodcast.com.
If you'd like to see how our bunny boils, we're on Bunny Boiler Podcast if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.